Good afternoon, everyone. This is Christian with PerfectStockAlert.com, a 100% free service for smart investors and traders. All we ask in return, please refer a friend. Today is Tuesday, July 9th, 2013. We're looking at the NASDAQ today and showing you what I see and trying to show you what I see. And basically, in this rally, we see this close here. This candlestick is actually higher than any close you'd seen before. Let's bring out the tools right quick. You can see that the close today is higher than you'd seen here, higher than you'd seen here, here, or even here. So you now have the highest close that you'd seen. It's considered to be a bullish condition according to the news that I saw today. However, it is not bullish in any way, shape, or form. And I want to point out again the various different ways that you can tell that so that you guys can learn from it. This move here, look, the gap up here, and then you have a gap again, then a gap again, and then a gap again. This is not how a strong bull market grows. This is not actually what's going on. What you see happening here is just computer trading. Every day they gap up the market and they set it up there. So if you want it, you had to come chase it, and the next day the same, and the next day the same. No one's actually buying this other than the computer trading. So what you're going to see here is really a weak volume, and we've talked about that already this week and showed you that we have, in fact, very weak volume on this chart, indicating the same thing, telling you, again, that's another one of those indications that you do not trust breakout moves or rallies that are on really weak volume. It's just a bad place to buy, because what happens is eventually they say, okay, now we've played them for the fools they are, and then we just do this number. We completely erase that. And you, again, no hammer candlestick formation, not a true bottom anyway, so that could be another way of pointing that out. But there's other charts that will show better what's really happening here, and I want to point out again, I've shown you some of these charts, and they will all set up the same way. So let's quickly look at some longer term. Okay, we're going to go back here to the 2007-2008 time period with a major market peak, and you can see, looking at the NASDAQ, that time period, massive gap, all the way up. And you'll notice at the same time period, you were seeing a very weak volume. Talk about that, what was going on. This is not a sustainable situation. You will eventually come back and test and fill these little gap scenarios. That's what happens whenever you have these little low volume gaps to the upside. You have a scenario where you just come back and you fill them. There's 4 different types of gaps, but this particular type gets filled in relatively short order, so we look for that to happen. And then again, if you're looking for that and seeing that we're seeing this rally and you recognize that this is just a topping scenario, we've already taken out the lows, so forth and so on. We've already closed below the 50-period moving average on the current charts as well as the previous, and then you should make the new high from here to here. It doesn't make a bit of difference if it does it in this particular fashion. It's just a temporary burst of excitement, and then people can come in and face the reality. You start to see volume pick up again. You'll notice the volume was strong on the sell side as well before, and so that's what you should be looking at in the current time period as well. Okay, now we're going to look at the NASDAQ chart, but again, this is going to be the 2-year weekly chart. So each one of these candlesticks represents a week's worth of trading activity, and then also this is the current chart, not back in 2007, 2008. This is currently what's happening. So this candlestick formation right here is still forming. The week's not over yet. The main thing to show you here, again, the high close here is higher than you'd seen here, but again, I want to point out this is a weak bounce. This is nothing more than that. When you actually go up here and look at the momentum indicator on the ultimate oscillator, you can see this high point here coming off about the 80 line, and then you can see the higher close here. So we're trending up like this, and then the current situation, we're still trending way down here. So again, momentum indicating this is just nothing worth holding onto. And again, this is still a bearish divergence overall. It's just growing worse and worse the higher we get here. You can see this high point here, lower high, lower high, lower high, and yet still even lower high here. So we just have this massive move lower here, a momentum, and yet price keeps pressing higher between these 2 points. This is all going to be erased. This is nothing new here. I've been explaining that before, but again, it should be concerning because you can see a massive divergence between the actual momentum indication here and here than you'd seen before. Before, you had a high point, a little bit lower, a little bit lower, a little bit lower, a little bit lower, and then massive lower. So that's a big sign there that you could have problems. And again, look at the volume moving on down. You can see, even if you don't consider this week, because this week's not finished forming, you look at the past week, you can see the volume is just ridiculous level here. So this is nothing to be a buyer. If you've not been to the free website at PerfectStockAlert.com, it's right there. It's 100% free, and all we ask in return, please refer a friend. Again, I want to point out my market charts, both short-term and long-term, can be found on the Markets tab. You simply go down to the Market Charts. You'll find both short-term and long-term. They're updated nightly, so you can see my notations and see what I'm thinking, as well as where my entry points would be and my stop-loss limits, things of that nature. Also, if there's anything that you don't understand regarding the video that I've done today regarding the divergence between the ultimate oscillator and price activity, you can simply go here to the technical section, go here to the more. You can find those 4 different divergences there. You can also learn about gaps, etc., etc. Okay? God bless, take care, and I will see you in tomorrow's video. Please take a moment to review our disclaimer. The information provided herein is our opinion only. Under no circumstances do any statements here represent a recommendation to buy or sell securities or make any kind of an investment. You are responsible for your own due diligence. To summarize, we do not provide investment advice, nor do we make any claims or promises that any information here will lead to a profit, loss, or any other result. These videos are for educational purposes only.